Hey guys, happy Friday. I'm glad I finally made it to Friday. I've been working the last 12 days in a row or something like that. It's been a while since last Sunday, whatever that is. I did do a 34-hour reset in California, but it wasn't exactly a day off. I was in Blythe with nothing to do, so I just got a hotel room and took a shower and relaxed. So I guess you could call it a day off, but I wasn't able to really do anything. So I've been on the road for 12 days. Finally got back. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the police because it's a big subject right now. And I'm getting a lot of hatred for some of my takes because I'm not pro law enforcement. And I don't know why that surprises people. But a lot of people are accusing me of pandering to the left, which is fucking weird, or pandering to libertarians by using this anti-cop rhetoric when the cops are some of the earliest influences on my libertarianism from being a Republican to becoming a libertarian. I've never been brutalized by the police. I've never been beaten, and I've actually never been arrested, but I have been harassed by them a couple times for stupid shit. And not just the police, but other forms of law enforcement like park rangers and forest rangers over just the dumbest shit ever. And for the most part, it seems like they just like to push you around because they have a badge that gives them authority over you for some reason. I've never needed the police, so, maybe I'm speaking from a position of privilege here, and I'll admit to that. I've never had a moment in my life where I've needed the police, and I can't imagine a moment when I would want them versus being able to just have the ability to defend myself. But I don't carry around the means to defend myself in some places because I'm more worried about getting caught and getting in trouble with law enforcement and getting something on my record or whatever. Like, there's so many repercussions to carrying a gun or some sort of self-protection that would make me feel way more comfortable than being able to call the cops at any moment in time. Because think about any moment that you would want the cops. Like, what if if you're approached by a bunch of thugs in an alley or something like that? You're gonna call the cops? I mean, they're not gonna be, unless they're right around the corner. They're not gonna be there in time. I can't think of a situation where calling the cops would save me versus being able to defend myself. I just don't think it's that realistic that you'd run into that very often. But I'm worried about having the means to defend myself because of the law enforcement repercussions against me for carrying a gun or whatever. So, I'm a truck driver, and I've been a truck driver, or I've had my CDL since I was 18. And I know a lot of you guys are truck drivers who follow me. So you know how the DOT and the highway patrol can be to truck drivers just for no reason. They're complete assholes. They'll just look for the tiniest infraction to put you out of service on the side of the road and give you thousands of dollars in fines just to fund the state a little bit more. I've done video. I did one video when I got stuck in a way station for 4 hours because I had a wrench in a toolbox that they were counting as a separate unit to the machine that I was hauling. They held me there for 4 hours, and we had to hire someone to come get the wrench for us. They wouldn't let me put it in the cab, or it was just so dumb. Like, they just do stuff like that. And in that case, they didn't even fine me big time, so they weren't even making any money off of it. They were basically just doing it because they had the ability to do it. And I know people who have become cops, and they are the type of person who likes to have authority because they were either bullied in high school or they didn't make it to the place in life they wanted to, so they take it out on other people. It's just fucking dumb, and it's getting worse. A lot of it seems to be that these veterans are coming back from Afghanistan or Iraq, and then they become cops, and they've been trained to kill people, and they have PTSD, and their training is mostly firearms training, and then we wonder why why all these police shootings happen, why there's not de-escalation taking place. A lot of it ties back to our foreign policy. But yeah, what I basically wanted to say is the detest the just the distaste I've had toward law enforcement has been a thing for like 7 years now. It was one of the first things that pulled me away from the right wing and made me start thinking in a more libertarian fashion. It was before I moved out west. And then the next thing was immigration, from living in Arizona and dealing with border patrol agents and hearing stories about what they do. And it's a very similar thing to the police. There's just this like reverence we're supposed to have for them for some reason. And I mean, they're assholes. Like, I mean, I can think of a couple decent cops I've run into, but it's like 1 out of 10 almost all the time. They're there to just push you around, tell you what to do, show you who's boss, and then if you're lucky, you can get on your way. It's very rare that they show up to actually help and facilitate the situation toward a better alternative of some sort. Almost all of my experiences with them have been negative. I was almost arrested for leaving work late one night. This is my first like really negative, or I guess this is my second negative experience with the police. But my brother and I stayed late at work. I was helping him get his tractor trailer license, so I was helping him maneuver the truck, learning how to shift and how to back up into a spot. So we left after hours, and where I worked, there was an electronic gate, and we just had to wait for the gate to close behind us. And then we pulled out, and there was a cop, and he followed us for a couple miles. And so I made sure I wasn't even going half a mile over the speed limit or anything. But he pulled me over anyway, and he's like, "What were you guys doing at that place so late?" And I said, "Well, my brother's working on getting his tractor trailer license, and we're just practicing." And he's like, "Oh, well, why are you there after hours?" It's like, "Well, because we had to work during the day, so we were staying late." And I was working for my uncle at this point, so my uncle owned the company. It wasn't, there was nothing sketchy about what we were doing. But he said, "All right, I'm going to need to see your license and registration." Okay, so I gave it to him, and he was in his car for like 15 minutes. And then suddenly 2 or 3 more cop cars pulled up behind him. And 5 cops surrounded our car, and they had me get out of the car, lean against the back of the car, and like they interrogated me for like 15 minutes. And if I had to do that over again, I don't think I would have gotten out of the car. But I think I was 20 at this time, and I just didn't want trouble. But out of principle, at this point, I would say no. I mean, for like what? Why? For what reason? I wasn't like a strong libertarian back then. I was just starting to dip my feet into the liberty movement and kind of get a grasp of what was going on. But, they had me lean against the car, asked me a bunch of stupid questions, and then gave me my license back and let me go. And this is a tiny town that had like 10,000 people in it, maybe. And so you have all 5 or 6 of these cops come over here and harass some guys for leaving work late. I was just like, what is wrong with you? Like, what are you doing? I have had a lot of experiences like that. And then as a truck driver, I've just had them hold me in a weigh station for hours over some stupid little infraction that is not a hazard to anyone. And they could just give me a warning or write me a ticket or whatever, but they'll hold me there for hours and hours and hours just because they can. If I were working for Schneider or some big trucking company, it wouldn't matter. But when I'm working for a small business, for a guy who has 5 drivers, it kind of matters, like if you get held up for half a day, because that can be life and death as far as your business goes. But, I mean, when everyone... It is funny, like, seeing some of these people in the inner cities call for abolishing the police when they're usually the liberal kind of middle upper class, who are the ones that want all the guns confiscated and want their neighborhoods protected or whatever. They're the first ones who will call the cops if you're having a loud party next door or something. So they're fucking idiots. But as far as me, like, if you wanted to abolish the police, it would honestly make my life easier. I'd carry an AR-15 in this truck all the time. I wouldn't have to worry about fucking DOT cops. I wouldn't have to, my life would be way better without the police, so I don't give a fuck. But, we could talk about utopian ideas of where the police should go. Like, I think a privatized police force would be better, that small communities can decide they want to hire, or individuals or companies, instead of relying on state police and, federal funding that goes to a giant oligarchical police system that is structured in a way that protects everybody within the system and gives them tons of military grade weapons and all this shit. Like, I personally think we should get rid of the police as an institution. I don't think that it should be a government institution that has a monopoly on violence and has no competition and can basically do whatever the fuck they want without repercussions. But given that that's probably not going to happen, we can at least pass some major reforms. We should federally defund the police. I don't know why that's a radical stance, and a lot of libertarians seem to be scared of saying that. You shouldn't. Like, we're for defunding things. That's what we're all about. Federally defunding the police is something that should happen. If communities should be raising their own money for their own police forces so that they're not getting fucking MRAPs and riot gear. I lived in a small town in New Hampshire with 3,000 people. And they had like a bomb squad and a SWAT team. It was just stupid. There's so much shit that they didn't need. Like, and we're not approving that as the town of Sunapee. We're not raising all the funds for that. A lot of federal funding goes toward police. A lot of military gear goes to the police. It's just stupid. Like, it shouldn't be doing it. So we absolutely should federally defund the police, put it back in the hands of communities so that they're funding the police force that they see fit, that they think they need for their community. And then we should be getting rid of all these stupid fucking exemptions that the police have, like qualified immunity. That's super fucked up. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but qualified immunity basically makes it impossible for a court case to go through against a police officer unless something identical has happened in the past that has been deemed unconstitutional. So it's very, very hard to convict a police officer for breaking the law unless something exactly the same scenario has happened before and he's been deemed guilty. So I forget what the statistics are off the top of my head, but I think like 1 out of 8 cases goes through against a police officer, something like that. It's something ridiculously low. Don't quote me on that. I'd look that up. But it's very, very low. Almost no cases are successful against police officers because of qualified immunity. And then, no-knock raids, civil asset forfeiture, all these things should go away. There's absolutely no reason that the police should have them. It's unconstitutional. It just shouldn't exist. But, yeah, that's my little rant about the police. I hate the police. I don't think it necessarily means you're a bad individual if you're in the police, but you're part of an evil system. I'd phrase it this way. Like, if you were in the German army in World War II, you might not actually be an evil individual, right? Like, there were German soldiers in the German army who probably weren't terrible people, but you're part of a terrible organization. And the fact that, if you were a German soldier in the German army, what you should be doing is deserting or surrendering, right? Like that's what I would say. If you're in the police, that's what you should be doing. You should be turning in bad cops. You should be actively working against the system. So, yeah, I mean, I have a friend who's a police officer, and I don't hate him, but he knows how I feel about the institution that he's part of, and I don't think it's acceptable that he's a part of it. So that's my thought. You will not get any respect for the police from me. And I realize it's a tough job, but so was being a German soldier in World War II. That was a tough job. So that's not a decent excuse for me. And Republicans, bootlicking Republicans I will fully admit this, they trigger me more than anything else. Like, you can be a gun grabber, you can be a fucking communist, you can be a neocon, and I hate all those things, but if you are a bootlicking Republican, you piss me off more than anything else. Like, especially if, some kid gets shot, and then you're posting pictures of him on Facebook where he's holding a gun and using that as some sort of justification, when you yourself have dozens of pictures of holding AR-15s on Facebook or whatever. Like, fuck all the way off with that shit. If I get shot by the police for some bullshit reason, trust me, you're going to find plenty of pictures online with me holding guns, and you'll also find videos, one of which is on this channel that kind of originally skyrocketed me to publicity. So if that's an excuse that you find redeemable for state-sanctioned murder, go fuck yourself. So that's it. That's all I got for now. Check in tomorrow morning. I'll have Pete Quinones and Ryan Dawson on with the Jackman twins at 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's going to be based. We're going to be talking about vaccine passports, probably a little bit about how the war in Afghanistan's getting pushed back 4 more months, extended for 4 more months, supposedly. I personally don't think it's only being extended for 4 months. I think we're never leaving. But that's going to be cool. Pete Quinones and Ryan Dawson tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll upload a link to Twitter once I get home. But thank you guys for the continued support. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, please do. That's it. Fuck the police.